4 hours away. Welcome in to Titans digital pregame coverage right here on 104.5 The Zone TV. It's Titans and Saints as the boys return home to Nissan Stadium as the #1 team in the AFC. Over the course of the next 30 to 45 minutes, we're going to take you through some of the best audio from 104.5 The Zone this week, as seen right here on Zone TV, on Facebook Live, Twitch, Twitter, and YouTube. And we're going to begin with J-Mart and Ramon reacting to last week's win in prime time over the Los Angeles Rams. Wesley Woodyard joined the guys, talking about why Ryan Tannehill doesn't get enough respect and why this defense looks scary.
Okay. Guests on the Mark Spain Real Estate Hotline, including our good friend, the Lumberjack, UK's own, Wesley Woodyard. Wes, what's going on?
So you just gonna tease me the whole time and make fun of me while y'all got me on mute? That's okay. I see how this is. I see how this going. What's up, fellas? Good morning. What's up, Nashville?
What's up, Wesley Woodyard? Hey.
You know what? In the words of Coach Rich Brooks, great day to be alive and be a Wildcat, gentlemen, even though we lost. Congratulations. Congratulations to UT. I know that was a big program win for you guys. You know, that got you back on track. It sucks, but we will live. We'll fight another day.
Now, before we get into it, we gotta let Wes. You and I are friends, okay? Right?
And we're friends, except on days until UT play Kentucky. That's the only time we really ain't friends.
And there's really no limits to what we're gonna say to each other. To me, you, Bud. You don't Rob, like it's full trash talking. Just for clarity, I had somebody say yesterday, you wouldn't say that to Wes. I was like, I say worse things to Wes.
Oh yeah, if they only seen my text message change, how many times I done got a Michael Jordan crying face sent to me, how many gifts I done got sent to me about Kentucky. It's no holds barred in this friendship here.
So how do you feel about the Tennessee players celebrating on the UK logo at midfield? We had an angry Wildcat fan call up and call them disrespectful and immature. So what do you think of that?
You know what? If you don't want that to happen,
yep.
If you don't want it to happen, then you got to beat them.
Amen.
That's the only thing. You know, it is a rivalry.
Mm-hmm.
It is a bit disrespectful, but what's disrespectful is getting beat. You know, so you ain't nothing you can do about that. Win the game next time, and just remember it. It'll be fuel to the fire. It'll be bulletin board, bulletin material for next year. When we scrape them guys up, we go down there to Knoxville, and you might see some dancing on the tee down there. So, you know, what goes around comes around. But I think my Kentucky guys have a little bit more class than that.
Also on the UK logo was Mark Stoops running out to midfield at the end of that game and getting that penalty.
At that point, what were you thinking, Wes?
No comment on that. No comment on that. I was at a birthday party, so at that point in the game, I was going back live on my phone, so I didn't get really see all of that. But hey, Stoops is a fiery guy, man. So I love Coach Stoops and everything he does. So hey, we just got to win. We got to freaking pull that off.
Yeah, it's three L's in a row, Wes. And I don't want to just keep saying y'all took.
Thanks for letting me know.
I don't want to continue to just keep saying y'all lost the game, but Wes, we got 69 scholarship players, man. You basically got flipped upside down on y'all, and here you go, 40 minutes of offense at your home at night. And I'll say this too, I'm rubbing it in because y'all had a party in Knoxville last year. You text me, I should go back to our text thread right now and just see how disrespectful you were, Wes. So Bud texted me last night because the Titans won. That's huge on them. But he said, let me know when you want to meet up to collect your winnings.
Hey, don't know. I think I might owe you a bottle or something. So we'll repay back that debt that you paid me last year. So I'm an honorable man, so I will repay you. But yeah, man, we control that game. It's just like but that's the SEC for you. Any given Saturday, any team can be beat unless you're Alabama. Sometimes every 4 or 5 years you get a loss there for Bama. But you know, man, it's a rivalry game. All that stuff goes out of the window, and it's all about who can control the game, man. At the end of the game, at the right time, capitalizing on red zone turnovers, making people kick field goals. So UT came out on top victorious. I'm not gonna say too much good things about them, but you know, congratulations. Hope y'all can get a bowl game.
Wes, what are you seeing right now with the Titans defense? Because I know what we're seeing, a unit that's playing really, really well.
Yeah, man, a unit that's believing in themselves, a unit that's finding their leaders, a unit that won't be stopped. You know, when you lose a guy like a Derrick Henry, most teams will crumble, most teams will fold, especially going up against what most people say are the favorite in the NFC behind Tampa to reach the Super Bowl. Those guys came out there and didn't care about that. They came out there, they balled out. Jeffrey Simmons is a man-child. Kevin Byard, man, I said this, man, that dude there, he's just like, you can't even say enough good things about KB, man. He's a ball hawk, and you can really tell that he loves the Titans. He loves his team, and that passion that he has, the plays that he makes out there on the field, man, I expect to see Kevin Byard retiring as one of the greatest Titans ever to play on this team, man, and in the history, because he's the mayor. He makes big plays, and again, I want to give a special shout out to my special teams unit. Brett Kern is still out there booming. He's one of the biggest underrated defensive players on the Titans team because he makes big plays. And I think, man, when guys just realize that, hey, you know, Derrick was a big part of our season. Let's make this season about him. Let's play for him. You know, you get AP in there. You know, hopefully he got his, you know, he got broke in a little bit. You know, he was running a little bit high. You know, but AP's always been a guy that was a up tall runner. But man, to get him that touchdown, man, that was a great thing, man. And honestly, that says a lot about, you know, Mike. You know, to believe in AP, like, hey, we get it down there, we try it once. Let's get this man a touchdown and welcome him to this Titans team like he should be, man. One of the greatest backs of all time. So, man, that was great. A great game plan and a great defensive effort.
So on the other side of that, we had a national analyst, Marcellus Wiley, kind of just say, you know, well, Tannehill needs to do this, and, you know, they're not a good team. They're just a hot team right now, Wes. So when you've been on teams, I'm sure you've lost a superstar, the guy who was like, man, we can't afford to lose him, the same way everybody look at the Titans losing Derrick Henry. But in your mindset, if you lost a big-time offensive player, what is the defense's mindset as far as making up the hay for a guy like Derrick that's out? Like, you can't say a team isn't good because they're without a guy like Marcellus said. Like, if a team is good and you're winning, you got to acknowledge that, hey, they're picking up the slack for somebody else.
Yeah, that's disappointing. You know, but it's been like that since I've been in Tennessee. The Titans never get enough respect from the national media coverage. But, man, those guys, man, whenever you're big, okay, so Jarrell Casey was our best player on the team forever, for the longest. So when Casey got hurt, it made the offensive guys, you know, step up a little bit more. It made the defensive guys step up a little bit more. So when you see Derrick Henry leave the season hopefully he can get him back. We can get him back in the playoffs. But when you lose a guy like Derrick Henry, you know, as a defensive unit, there are going to be a certain amount of plays out there that you get the opportunity to make. Yeah. And you got to capitalize on it, and you got to make it. And you saw that in the game last weekend. The Titans capitalized on every chance they got. Simmons came up. David Long made a huge interception that helped the offense out. KB put some points up on the board. So when your defense understands the challenge at hand and they came out there and they showed up on Sunday night and balled out, you know, they welcome that challenge. And that was great to see that unit was like, man, look, we love Derrick, but we don't necessarily need Derrick right now to win. We're going to win this thing for my dog, and we're going to ride for him, and hopefully we can get him back in the future so he can cause problems in the playoffs.
Wes, what do you think of Jayon being back and teaming him up with David Long and Harold Landry? It just seemed like you had a really good mix at linebacker, even with Rashaan Evans out of the game.
Man, that looked really great. That combination with Jayon and David, they made a lot of great plays, and even the commentators were saying a lot of good things about Jayon, you know, getting the defense set. And I think that's one thing that Jayon brings to the table is that, you know, when you're a defensive lineman, you don't want to wait for that close call or the getting the defense set. But what Jayon gives you is that stability in the inside to allow Mike Vrabel or Shane Bourne to, hey, we got this call set up, but we could be potentially changing it based on the personnel. So it's all these little bit of mechanics that go into the play of the defensive schemes that, to me, Jayon gives them a good shot of making plays and at the same time playing solid and sound defense, because in this part of the season, this latter part of the season, with your key offensive guy being out, you got to play sound and you got to play solid. But more importantly, all 11 guys on that defense have to be on the same page, and that was clear. What you saw in this game, the past game versus the Rams, that defense was lined up and ready to go every snap.
Yeah, and Wes, this is the thing. So I know as a defender, you guys find a spot to attack. And this past weekend, I just got to ask you this question as far as, a guy like Bobby Hart that kind of got put in a hard spot right there, man. Defensively, y'all kind of find your way to find a guy that might be new to the starting lineup, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and Go ahead.
Go ahead. My bad.
No, you can go ahead. You finish it.
No, I was just gonna say, man, I learned from Peyton Manning, and I used to sit down with Peyton in the meetings and be like Peyton, like what's your thought process? And he was like, Wes, honestly, a lot of the times I'm trying to find a guy that I can beat. Yeah, I know if I can get 2 touchdowns on this rookie cornerback, I'm gonna go at him. And you saw that. You saw that this past game, man. That defensive front was relentless. Jeffrey Simmons putting pressure out there, just causing havoc, and not necessarily giving the same look. And when you get an unexperienced guy that's forced into the spotlight, now that's when the game plan schematics take into effect. That's when your games are setting up when a guy that's not really a big moan on the offensive line that's used to seeing stunts in games. They can pick that up. These young guys, these new guys to the front, they really can't adjust that well during game situations, and it shows. But I will say this. Trying to block Jeffrey Simmons one-on-one, that's a no-no for anybody. So if any team is looking to beat the Titans, you better double team those big 98.
Yeah, Wes, I'm calling him more cowbell because it's 2 Mississippi State guys on the inside with him and Autry. Do you think that Big Jeff has been unlocked a little bit by having Danico next to him and vice versa? Because those 2 guys in particular seem to really be kind of feeding off of one another, almost like they're competing with each other to see who can be more dominant.
Yeah, that's a big moment. You saw this firsthand in Pittsburgh when you had Watt and you had Dupree on the other end. When those guys get competitive, now you got Cam in the inside. Like, hold up. I'm trying to get a sack too, and that's what you like to see, man. I think I read somewhere where Harold, Simmons, how do you say his last name?
Harold Simmons.
Yeah,
you talking about Autry?
Autry?
Yeah, Autry. They're top 5 in pressures on the quarterback this year, and that's what you want to see, man. That competitive spirit going throughout the D line through the front. We're trying to get pressure. We're trying to get sacks, and once I get one, everybody else has to get one, and that's the competition you like. But I want to say this. My man Ryan Tannehill doesn't get enough credit. I remember sitting in these meeting rooms when he came on this team, and everybody was like, man, this is a great signing for you guys. If something happened to Marcus, he's going to take over. And that's exactly what this man has been doing since he got here. I remember him answering questions to the point where Vrabel was like, look, Ryan, I'm not asking you. Don't answer any more questions. I know you know. So this man, all he does is win. He didn't have a big stat line last week, but he controlled the game. He made the plays. He allowed his defense to help set up some things to where he can go out there and just relax and have fun and not make those mistakes. And that's the maturity that you want to see from a quarterback who's ready to go into the playoffs, who's ready to finish up this quarter of the season, the last 2 quarters of the season on top with a lot of dubs. And Tannehill, man, he doesn't get enough credit, but he is definitely one of the after Derrick Henry, he's probably one of the most important players in the NFL as far as importance being to a team.
As far as defensive player of the year, I kind of mentioned earlier, Jason threw in Diggs with the Cowboys. I'm throwing in TJ. I'm throwing in Myles Garrett, and I'm throwing in Kevin Byard. Pick one, Wes. Where you at right now, man?
Come on, man. I'm so sick and tired of seeing these defensive MVPs going to the rush-ins or guys that get a lot of sacks. Let's actually look at guys who control the game every week, guys that's going out there who's making big plays for their teams. And Kevin Byard has solidified himself as, 1, an all-pro candidate, 2, a Pro Bowl player, and 3, now I'm in the talks of being the best defensive player in this league. You don't think Kevin Byard takes notice of that, and he's going to go out there and continue to ball and have that success? And one thing that I love about Kevin is, man, he arises to every challenge that he's faced with. You know, coming in, he wasn't starting. He goes in the weight room, works his tail off week in and week out until he gets that starting spot, and he hasn't looked back, man. But this year, you can definitely see that Kevin has taken that leadership role in that defense and picked those guys up and put them on his back. And the clear thing about that is there's no beef, no animosity with anybody in the locker room. Everybody knows on that defensive side of the ball that this defense goes through Kevin Byard, and everybody understands and everybody knows that.
And that's good stuff right there from Wesley Woodyard. I love that, talking about Bud Dupree and how good this defense is going to be when Bud Dupree is completely healthy and ready to go. He's been really, really good the past couple of weeks, and every single week, that guy's looking a little bit better. So from a former Titans linebacker to a current Titans linebacker, Jayon Brown was on 3HL earlier this week up in Clarksville at Buffalo Wild Wings. Talking about last week's performance, he came back and had a really good game Sunday night against the Los Angeles Rams. Here's Jayon, number 55 with 3HL.
Jayon Brown! There we go. There we go. There we go. See, that's how you come back. There you go. Tighten up.
Jayon, welcome back into the mix, man. Appreciate you hopping on 3HL out here in Clarksville. What's up?
Man, good to be back. Glad to be back on the field, and this is our round 2.
Yeah,
that's right.
Round 2. I hope y'all ready.
Listen, Jim White was just talking about, and we all noticed too, you were out there dancing before the game.
Oh,
you were excited to be out there again, weren't you?
Yeah, man, back home too.
Yeah.
I had like 20, 30 people show up, family, friends, and I missed football. I think I missed a month. I missed a month of ball, but I'm so happy to be back. I miss playing with my teammates out there competing, and we went out there and got a really tough win, and it felt good.
How hard is? Let's start with the ticket request. How hard is that to fulfill all the ticket requests on a road game?
It's a lot. Try to do it. I'm not a rookie to it, so try to get it done like earlier in the week. But
you got to get
everybody got their ticket and everything.
You got to get stuff from other players. Is that how that works?
You could. I just took care of all of myself.
Okay.
You know, connecting with the ticket people and.
Okay, so I don't know if you saw Jordan Love's family was at Kansas City. They put him like on the last row at the top. I mean, there was no love there for the quarterback of the opposing team's mom and girlfriend. Like, did they at least, were you able to get good tickets for your family in the opposing arena?
Nah, mine was up high too.
Hey man, them people low down, man. Like,
yes,
when you
they
go
are.
To man, they want you to change the lights up there, dude. Like, it's ridiculous, man.
That's why you didn't go to the Kentucky game.
Man, I'm not doing it. I will not go, man. Unless a player on the opposing team give me tickets, I ain't going, man.
That's the best way to do it.
Yeah.
That's the way to do it.
So, Jayon, let's start with this. With Derrick Henry out, what was the mindset of the football team as you guys were getting ready for that game against the Rams?
Just motivated, man. You know, we know how much Derrick means to us in our team, and how he goes out there and gives it his all each and every play. And you know, we just went out there as a unit together, and just did what we're supposed to do, next man up, and got the job done. Jeremy, Deontay, and AP, they did a great job running the ball and catching the ball and doing everything they needed to do for us to get the win.
Let's talk about this defense, because every single Titans fan was just loving on this defense on Sunday night. What was the talk heading into this one, knowing that, hey, it might take your offense a week or two to adjust to life without Derrick Henry, right? So what was the talk on that side of the ball overall heading into this game?
We just want to go out there and just put a dominant performance up. We knew that the Rams were putting up crazy numbers offensively, and you know, number one this, number one that, and there's no way the Titans defense can hold them and all that other stuff. We heard all that, but you know, you got to go out there and handle business. You know, when it came game day. So went out there. KB made crazy plays, a pick six. David got a pick. Jeff,
oh my!
Jeff was just going nuts. I don't know who was in front of him, but you know, it didn't matter.
He was like pushing guys into the quarterback.
Grown-ass men into the quarterback.
Like, just pushing them. Like, they were offering zero resistance.
They were scared. They're scared of that, man. You seen Jeff?
Exactly.
I'm scared of him. I'm not going to lie.
And Danico Autry. I don't want to mess with him either.
Yeah, our dudes up front are playing lights out. Danico, Jeff, Harold. Who am I missing? I don't want to miss anybody.
Yeah. How much does that help you as a linebacker?
Right.
Oh man, in the run game, clearing everything up, like I can just flow untouched, shooting gaps, and then dropping back in coverage, just knowing that they don't have a lot of time before Danico's in your face, Harold's in your face, Jeff's in your face, Bud's in your face. Like them dudes are rushing, and that D-line room is motivated to get sacks.
How much did you use this time being off to really lock in on the film, man? Because it looked like, dude, you were play a step ahead. Once the play when the ball was hiked, you was going straight to the ball every time, whether it was pass or run.
Appreciate it, man. Yeah, I was thirsty out there.
A month will do that, huh?
Yeah. I miss going out there with the guys, but just being so thankful and just sitting out that time just really gave me a moment to just look at where I'm at and just don't take anything for granted and be appreciative of everything, and just so happy to be back and just rolling, and the team's been doing great.
Right.
And we just got to keep it pushing, keep our head down and going.
We've talked a lot about how difficult it is to be injured in the NFL, just because it's a business, right? And so you are off to the side. You're not necessarily with your team a lot because you're rehabbing, you're working to get back. I guess lift the curtain for fans a little bit on what a rehab process in the NFL really is like. Sometimes do you feel separated?
You definitely can. But dudes come in the training room and check up on you and be like, oh man, how you doing? You see guys coming in and out of meetings. You can stop by meetings too. Say what's up to the guys, but you just gotta go. You go in early and you're just working to get back, and it's just a process. However, whatever time that is, it's just a process. So you gotta just have a strong mindset, and because from a fan perspective, and especially for opposing teams, like guys get hurt, you're like, yes, yeah. It's like this is like our job, though. It's like what we love to do. Like it's like it takes a lot, and it takes a lot out of us. Like man, we can't do what we love. We've been doing this since we were little kids, and it's been taken away from us. It's like taking a toy away from a baby.
Did you have to watch how ramped up you were because you were so excited to be back out there to just be careful not to overdo it a little bit?
a little bit. I was just the emotion that I almost got emotional at the. Nobody knows. I almost got emotional at the national anthem, but I was like, chill out.
Man, the anthem gets me every game, though. Every game I work, I'm like, it gets you. I can imagine not being out there for a month and then being back. Yeah.
Yeah, you hear it. It's the start of every game, so it's like all right, it's real.
Yep.
Well, it means something up here in Clarksville too, with Fort Campbell right up the road, and we have a lot of listeners that are up on posts, and we certainly appreciate those guys because it's the job that those guys do that gives us the freedom to come up here and crack jokes on the radio, and for you to be able to play a game that you love for a living. There were a couple of times that I noticed, I haven't gone back to watch it yet, I will, but where Matthew Stafford was determined to go a specific place with the football, and you had gone sprinting into that pass coverage, and he pulled it back down. Could you guys tell how frustrated he was getting out there?
I was locked in. I was in the zone.
Yeah. Because, they came out with the drop back game, right? And they went away from that because of what you were saying with Big Jeff and Danico getting that rush up the middle.
Yeah, they switched up their game plan coming out at halftime, and they moved the ball out and got some points up. But we just determined. We knew watching film, like we knew like we had to be really good with our drops, and Jeff had a monster game and helped that out a whole lot. Yeah. But with that rush coming and good coverage, made plays possible for like KB's pick six and us almost getting a safety, and then he just throws to David. I'm still mad at David for not scoring.
Should have dove or something.
Man,
right?
Give me a
That's
little
what I
stop,
said.
You got to bring that touchdown ball to the linebacker room, right?
Oh, yeah.
2 shows down and 2 to go as we take a look back at some of the best audio from 104.5 The Zone TV this week. As always, I'm your host, Will Boling, right here on our Zone social channels. So the Install with Greg Cosell is where you can get the very best Titans analysis and film breakdown in the business. It's Greg and Buck Rising. It releases every Wednesday, 6 o'clock Central. And this week, the guys are taking a deep dive into what the Titans defense is doing right now. Incredible the way that this team has been able to rush with 4 to get home on Matthew Stafford, Josh Allen, all the quarterbacks this defense has seen over the past couple of weeks. They've been dominant. Here's Greg Cosell breaking down just how the Titans defense has turned it up a notch.
This game was really, really interesting because I think of all the ways that you could have found for the Titans to win this one, I don't know necessarily that if you haven't been watching the Titans defense in the last couple of weeks, you would have expected it to spiral for LA the way that it did.
Sure.
What kind of jumped out to you about what the Titans did defensively to hold this LA offense down?
Well, I'd say a couple of things, and I think you have to go back to that game against Buffalo on Monday night, which sort of started this 4-game stretch. And they now have a defined, distinct profile on defense, particularly when they're in their nickel and their dime. And they rush 4. This is not a team that blitzes much at all. They tend to play zone when they're in nickel, okay? And very often they'll get to those zone concepts with disguise and late movement. And they tend to play more man when they're in dime. So that's been their profile. And what has made it so successful is the ability of their front 4 to exert consistent pressure on quarterbacks. And they don't just line up and say, here we come. They are so multiple with their stunt concepts. I mean, this is a team that has every form of stunt that you can have. They move people around. They're multiple with their front look. So the stunts come in different ways. And they have been so good with the ability to rush with 4 through stunts that now they can play with 7 in coverage. And that's ideally what every team would like. Because as I know we've spoken on this podcast before, it's always a numbers game. Football is a numbers game, Buck. If you can rush 4 and play coverage with 7, that's a good thing. If you can't rush with 4 and have to start adding people to the rush, that limits your numbers in coverage and therefore limits your options in coverage. So the fact that they can rush with 4 and generate consistent pressure on quarterbacks, and this is what the last month's template has been, has really allowed their secondary to play better. So players have started to slowly develop. Players like Chris Jackson, who's made a phenomenal play last week in his understanding of how to play a particular coverage when he wheeled away from a route and then went up and made a play on the ball versus Cooper Kupp on the sideline. Really great zone recognition and awareness. So you're seeing players who before the season, we wouldn't necessarily have known what their role was, whether it be Chris Jackson or Elijah Molden, even Chris Jones getting meaningful snaps. Players like that are now able to function effectively because when you can get the kind of pass rush pressure that they've been able to generate, that really helps on the back end.
And as you mentioned, they're doing it in so many different ways, whether they're stunting guys up front, whether they're bringing David Long on as the 4th rusher, as they did a couple of times on Sunday night, and dropping Bud Dupree back, as they like to do with those zone exchanges, as we've discussed on this podcast. You bring up Chris Jackson. I thought he played an exceptional game, both being sound in his assignments, limiting yards after the catch, and as you talked about, really understanding what his role was supposed to be when he allowed the safety to give him help on that route that was going by him, peeled off, and was there to make a play on the ball thrown to Cooper Kupp.
You're right. It was cover 3. And that area in cover 3, that outside void, is a difficult area at times because if the outside receiver runs vertically, the corner has to run with him. But what happened is Jackson showed great recognition and awareness when he saw that the outside receiver, who I think it was Woods, when he started to break a little inside, he knew he had a safety there to help him, and he saw Kupp. and he just did a great job. Whether you want to call it a baseball turn, a speed turn, there's all kinds of names for it. But he flipped his hips, and he played the intermediate corner route to cut. But that was an example, by the way, of pressure and coverage working together. Now, that was a first down play, but Long was the fourth rusher there, okay? It was a zone exchange. He beat the right guard Corbett with speed that forced Stafford to climb the pocket and make the throw just a hair late. And that hair late takes nothing away from what Jackson did, because it was great recognition and awareness. But if that ball could have been thrown on time, Jackson probably would have gotten there just a beat late, and he just would have tackled Kupp out of bounds. But so there's a great example of pressure and coverage working together.
We rarely get Mike Vrabel to expand on much as far as that kind of stuff is concerned at press conferences, Greg, but he really seemed to enjoy talking today about the way that they've kind of coordinated their pass rush against each individual. And I don't know how unique this is. It's just the first time that we've had Vrabel expand on it, to go against the style of quarterback that they're playing, and they'll tailor their stunts and their games up front to how mobile the quarterback is, or where they like to take off and what direction or which way they like to roll. And it seems like that's about as well executed a game plan from both coverage standpoint and up front as we've seen from them all year.
Yeah. And he obviously, they've got, 20, 25 people who can do all that. I only have me. So, I recognize all the stunts and the different kinds. I'm not quite as detailed, in knowing the specific nature of all of that. I guess if I went back and looked at each one, I would be able to figure it out. But and the other factor too is then you just have some really good individual players. I mean, when Simmons gets a sack on 3rd and 5 in the second quarter, and he just literally lifts the left guard Edwards off the ground right into Stafford, that doesn't hurt either. So. Yeah,
that man's 6'6", 303 pounds, Greg, and he just picked him up like a rag doll. It's crazy. There's not a lot of players in the NFL that can do that.
But I even remember going back to a sack that they had against Josh Allen in the first quarter, late in the first quarter, in that Monday night game, when Landry, and this is the kind of thing they do, and maybe this is an example of something Mike Vrabel is speaking about, when Landry was a stand-up 3 technique, aligning inside, not at his normal DN position, and they had a stunt with Simmons, who was lined up head up on the center. Okay. And it was Mitch Morse. And I don't know why I remember this play so well. It just popped into my head. Just shows you how sick I am, Buck, that I can remember it,
That's why we love you.
Yeah. Right. But and so what happens is, because Simmons has such strong hands and is violent with his hand usage, Simmons just holds up Moss right at the snap, because Morse has to block him because he's a 0 technique. He's right in front of him. And then Landry just pauses a beat and then immediately just goes and attacks Morse on the side, a rib shot, and just knocks Morse off, and then gets a sack on Josh Allen. So they're doing a lot of really good things with pressure, with their 4, with different kinds of stunts, lining people up in different places. Autry lines up both inside and outside. We've seen Landry move around. It's exactly what you want defensively.
It's one of the best quotes I've ever gotten from a coach talking to their defensive line coach, Terrell Williams. I think this was Jeff's sophomore year, his second year in the league, and we just asked him, what are you seeing from Jeff Simmons right now? He just chuckles and he says, violence. Violence is what I'm seeing from Jeff, and obviously the tape bears that out.
And I think overlooked in that is Autry. I think over the last month, Autry has played as well. And again, I'm not studying. I study the Titans, obviously, very closely, because we do this, and I want to be, really up on what I'm watching. I can't watch every team like this, but I see a lot of football, as you know. I think Autry's playing as well as any, D lineman overall, given the fact that he's asked to play both inside and outside.
He's been there. The most helpful acquisition I think that they made in the offseason as far as what they were trying to accomplish. We'll talk about the defense that's going to be on the other side of the Titans this week, because the Saints are nasty. But I'm curious, Greg, the biggest discussion all week long around the Titans wasn't necessarily about everybody else who was going to play in this game, but who they would be without. And this is the first opportunity that we've seen the Titans offense in life without Derrick Henry for the foreseeable future. How did the Rams attack them with that in mind?
Well, I couldn't speak to what the difference would be. The bottom line point is that this was not a real good game for the Titans offense.
No.
Fortunately, it didn't need to be. But I think, and again, I'm not saying anything other than what's based on film study. You know me well enough, Buck, to know that it's never personal with me. But, Bobby Hart has been in the league a long time. He's not a starting left tackle.
Yeah.
And it shows up on tape when he has to play meaningful snaps. And he had to play meaningful snaps in this game, and I think he played all of them. So, he struggled with one-on-one blocks in the run game. He couldn't block Robinson. He had some bad snaps in one-on-one pass protection. Gave up a sack to Aquan Korankwo in the second quarter, was driven back into the pocket by Lewis. He just struggled in this game. And, obviously that really hurts you. So there was no flow to their offense in this game whatsoever. They couldn't really develop any run game. They played a lot out of 13 personnel. So, they were fortunate that they did not really need their offense because their O-line was beaten physically in this game. They could not run the ball.
And that's been probably their biggest hindrance as a group. Obviously, the injury report for them has been long all season on both sides of the ball, but the amount of attrition that they've had at with that specific group, and Taylor Lewan, warmed up, was fully dressed and ready to go, and we knew that he was going to be questionable coming into that game. But Greg, we've talked about the impact that when he's available and when he's right, how much bigger of a difference he makes, both in terms of what they're trying to accomplish in the running game and what they're trying to do on 3rd and 6+ in their passing game when they need to.
And I assume he'll go this week.
That's the plan.
Right.
They didn't feel it was significant enough to shut him down. He was there like Tua on Sunday in an emergency capacity as a backup, but I don't know how much they trusted his knee after the problems that it was giving.
Right.
3 for 3 in the red zone, though, for the Titans offense. So I think Mike Vrabel was pretty pleased with that situation.
Well, that's the thing. When you get in the red, even if your offense is not playing well, when you get in the red zone and you can score touchdowns, and that's the key. Because obviously after the David Long interception, when they were basically in the tight red zone right away, that has to be a touchdown, and it was.
Yeah. So, it's not like things get any easier for them this week at home with the New Orleans Saints defense, who they're going to face. Now, Greg, you asked me before we started recording the podcast about CJ Gardner Johnson, the safety for New Orleans, who had a toe issue. He did not practice today with a foot, and it's unclear as to whether he'll be available. We just got the injury report as we're speaking now. Also listed on here is Alvin Kamara with a knee injury that he is expected to be day-to-day on. But let's focus on this defense first, Greg. What defines them? They're obviously opportunistic as far as turnovers are concerned. What makes this New Orleans defense go?
Well, to me, this defense is more about what they do in their nickel and dime, because this is a team that plays a lot of sub defense. And when Gardner Johnson's healthy, they play a lot of sub, and they may still continue to do that and just put PJ Williams in his spot, as they did when he got hurt in the second quarter this week. And when they play their dime, they play a 3-2-6 dime, meaning they keep 2 linebackers on the field. They keep Demario Davis, who's one of the 5 best 3-down linebackers in the NFL, and they keep Quan Alexander on the field. So it's a 3-2-6 dime, and they do a lot of things out of it. Now, they've been a team that's played a lot of 2-man coverage, but they did not do that this past week against the Falcons. My guess is that Gardner Johnson's injury probably limited what they normally do, so we'll see. But they're big up front. See, that's the other thing. They have big bodies up front. So even when they're in their base, and they didn't play base this week, but I think they probably will against the Titans, because the Titans will line up with 2 and 3 tight ends. They've got big bodies. Cam Jordan's a big body. Davenport's a big body. Peyton Turner, the rookie, is a big body. They're big inside. They have a lot of big bodies. And is Nate Davis going to be out again this week?
He, again, did not practice in the concussion he was a full participant. I misread this. Nate Davis, full participant today. Well,
they need him in this game because Brewer is just not big enough to handle the kind of size that they're going to get from the Saints defensive front in their base defense.
One final piece of audio for you, and we will get you on your way. Buck Rising takes over on 104.5 The Zone. Coming up at the top of the hour, and Titans radio coverage is right around the corner as the Titans get ready to host the New Orleans Saints. We finish off with Blaine and Mickey talking with our guy Mike Detillier. We get the opponent scouting report on the New Orleans Saints as we get ready for kickoff between Titans and Saints. Here's Mike Detillier earlier this week on Blaine and Mickey.
All right, let's talk a little football. Saints and Titans getting ready to play. I want to ask the first question about this because I get to talk about one of my favorite people, one of my fellow Arkansas State alums. You got a great one in Demario Davis down there.
Other than Alvin Kamara, he's the best football player on this team. Ooh. I mean, I think back, it's over 35 years me covering the NFL and college football. I can't remember another linebacker in his 30s hit his prime. Yeah. Most of the time, those guys, 25 to 28, Davis, he bounced around this league all over. Jets, Browns, Jets. He comes here with the Saints, and he's a star player. Really is. Been just tremendous. Great leader. And as much as I can talk about how talented he is, he's an even better person. Really is. Just a tremendous guy on and off the field. And he's taken the mantle, so to speak, from Drew Brees. He's the leader on this football team. Just a great football player. And, man, you wish you had I know you can't have 22 like that, but you wish you had about 15 of them because, man, he can play. He's smart, great instincts. And it doesn't matter if it's against the run or he's blitzing the quarterback, pass coverage. He is superb, just superb.
Oh, well, I love hearing it. Hopefully he plays great on Sunday, but not so great that the Saints can win this. Mike Detillier, our guest, he is at Mike Detillier, M&D Draft Report, Saints Report, WWL Radio, and a whole bunch of other great media spots for him.
No doubt, Mike. Thanks for coming on, man. And I guess sticking with the defense, since you were talking about Demario Davis, is what about that front four? Because you guys, when you look at the stats, you guys have done pretty solid versus the run, and that's what the Titans like to do, run the football and set up the play-action pass. So kind of take us through what the defense has been like this season consistently versus the run, as well as getting after the passer.
Blaine, we have 3 or 4 camps here on the Bayou. Everybody knows about the Manning one, but we have the biggest offensive defensive line camp in the country, Louisiana Line Camp. And Ryan Nielsen, who's the Saints defensive line coach, is one of the guys that's there every year. And so, him and I sit down, we have a long interview. Before I even ask the first question to him, he's like, hey, he says, kiddo, he says, don't ask me about a pass rush first. Always ask me about stopping the run. Because if we can do that, I can do a lot of different things to get after your ass, as a quarterback. I can do a lot if we can stop it. And it's been a point of emphasis for Ryan and that defensive line. We wondered a little bit about how that would be this year because there was some reshuffling of the interior of the defensive line. Sheldon Rankins became a free agent, and he took off to the Jets. And then Malcolm Brown, he got dealt off to Jacksonville. David Onyemata is just coming back after a 6-game suspension. Maybe the most gifted football player on this team. I mean, there ain't much he can't do. Wow. He is a load in the middle as a pass rusher and also against the run. Shy Tuttle, a former University of Tennessee guy who was hurt so much for the Volunteers. Now, Ryan recruited him when he was at North Carolina State and remembered that, and he got him here. He's played real solid inside. And they've used a lot of different combinations. Tano Passano, who they got from the Chiefs, has been worked inside a defensive tackle. Marcus Davenport, who he is super talented also, just he's injured all the time, so you got a difficult spot with him. But he's also worked at defensive tackle. Cam Jordan's been absolutely terrific against the run. It has been a huge point of emphasis for this football team to stop the run and then get after the quarterback, pressure the quarterback. And it's worked all but really 2 games this year. Carolina game you got to throw out. They got torched against Carolina. But it did work against the Giants. They couldn't get to Daniel Jones, and last week they couldn't get to Matt Ryan. And they got to him late twice, but the rest of the time he's sitting back there. He could have made the sandwich, brought it to the picnic, ate it, and came back. I mean, they no effect on him throwing the football, but in answering your question, they've done a really good job stopping the run almost all year long. That has been a huge point that Sean has gotten out to the rest of his team. Hey, listen, if we can stop the run, then we can get a pass rush with the guys we got. Didn't work last week, though. They stopped the run. Falcons didn't get squat running the football. But Matt Ryan was hot, and he just absolutely torched them.
Well, that then leads to how's the pass defense? Because I'm interested to see if Lattimore matches up with A.J. Brown or Julio, how that whole process.
You can bank that's going to happen. It's going to be Lattimore up against A.J. I think it may be some mix and match because he's familiar, too, with Julio. They've tangled a few times here. But I think if you're looking at it from the Saints' point of view, the guy that I think they fear right now is A.J. Brown, is run after catch skills. And that's the other thing with this football team, that they have really stopping the run, but also Sean had explained to us on WWL a few times that, I'm looking now when I pick a corner or a safety, they better be able to tackle. So, years ago, we had a corner, you'd make a half-hearted effort, but, you're going for the lower body, just the knockdown. So today, you got to get guys that can tackle out in the open field. Because as you get smaller, and it's funny, this happened about 4 years ago. Brian Flores, he was with the Patriots at Louisiana Line Camp, stood up and said, okay, all you geniuses that are talking about us and this 3 and 4 wide receiver set and how we going to combat it, you know what you're going to have to figure out and fast? How we stop the run. Because we're getting smaller and smaller on defense with all these nickel and dime sets. We better find defensive backs who can tackle. If not, we're going to be in a lot of trouble. And I think that is something going to be interesting. Tannehill's going to go after whoever the rookie's guarding, and Paulson Adebo. He's been used to that all year long. They've went at that side. They did acquire Bradley Roby, who has also played solid, but every team has picked on the rookie from Stanford, Paulson Adebo. It has not been on Lattimore.
Going with Mike Detillier, NFL draft, and Saints, of course. Got to ask you, I guess, real quickly, before Mickey goes into the Kamara, the quarterback situation, everything else, is what was Jack Rabbit like when he was there at cornerback?
Man, Jack Rabbit.
You laugh.
He was one of the true characters in the Sean Payton time frame. Now, we had a lot of those guys before Sean, but Jack Rabbit, and we did a show with him in the offseason. And at one time, Jack Rabbit, he led the NFL in, like, holding penalties and stuff for a defensive back. And he explained it to us, man, one of the things I do is I want to see if that referee's going to call it. He said, I pull and tug on that guy. Sometimes I get away with it. And I know that they're going to let me do that most of the game. But he said, they get me for a couple of them early. I'm letting him loose. He brought a swagger to this defense that they didn't have before in the secondary. He brought that. Great confidence, could play the ball well in flight. Now, he's going to get penalized because he's going to take some chances. But he was really something. And he would light the flame on Chauncey Gardner Johnson, on C.D. Deuce. Man, C.D. Deuce getting a lot of penalties, but they were almost like a tag team together. A lot of times, Jack Rabbit would set up the fight or the push and the shove, and then next thing you know, CD's involved with it, and CD gets the penalty, and, Jack Rabbit was the one who kind of lit the flame. Yeah. They were a great tag team here together, believe me. And they get into the head of a wide receiver like you wouldn't believe. And so he was great here. He really was. he was the one free agent in the offseason every one of us talked about, man, if we could keep that guy, this defense would be much better. And so we miss him. I ain't kidding you. He brought a lot to the table. And, yeah, he's mouthy. And, yes, he's got a certain attitude, but he can play.
Our buddy Mike Detillier, our guest at Mike Detillier on Twitter. So how healthy is Alvin Kamara right now? I saw that he missed practice yesterday. How's he doing, and do you think he'll play Sunday?
I think he plays, but he's not a big back. So, he's taking a lot of pounding. He's carting not just one bucket of water for this team. He's carting two. And so you can see where he went into the tent, the medical tent, late against Atlanta, and then came right back out. And so there's some issue, knee, ankle problems he's got. And listen, nobody's healthy. Blaine can address this. Man, once you this far into the season, everybody got something wrong, one way or another, or you're not playing. It's one of those things. But he's sort of beat up right now, but he's going to play. I do expect this. I think you're going to see more of Mark Ingram in this game carrying the football than you have the other two games. I think they're going to lean a little bit more on Ingram. Because Alvin is sort of nicked up a bit, the one nightmare scenario with him is coming out the flat as a receiver. Because, we've talked to coaches and defenders are like, there's nobody that can cover him one-on-one when he gets downfield. And he's got another gear in space. So, but I do have that feeling that Mark Ingram is going to have a lot more touches in this game than he's had the prior 2 weeks since they acquired him from the Texans.
All right, running short on time, Mike, but before we let you go, I wanted to ask this. Taysom Hill, how much do you think we see of him versus Trevor Siemian, like the distribution of who plays quarterback?
I think Trevor's the guy for this game. You're going to see Taysom in that gadget role, utility guy, playing as a running back, playing as a basically running back at quarterback. You're going to see him also in the slot as a receiver on special teams. Now, he's just coming back from a concussion that he was out for 3 weeks. Last week was his first venture back. And so they careful with him, but I think you're going to see him in that dual role. And Trevor's going to be the guy. They didn't lose the game last week because of Trevor. They lost the game because they had 6 drop passes in that game.
So that is our show here today. Lots to discuss as we continue to get you ready for Titans and Saints in Nissan Stadium. Buck Rising will take the baton coming up here in just a couple of minutes. Top of the hour on 104.5 The Zone. Kickoff just a little over 3 hours away, and we can't wait. Titans and Saints, the top team in the AFC, they're back at home, and they're your Tennessee Titans. We'll get things going. Coming up soon, right here on 104.5 The Zone.